Peace, everybody. It's Milana Al Hassan with the Crypto Plan and DeFi Group. Today, we're going to talk about something that's important, something that is controversial. For some reason, it's controversial because no one knows what the hell is going on with it. The educated doesn't know, apparently, or something, or some type of political agenda behind it, which whenever politicians are involved, there's always a political agenda. Whenever there's businesses involved that make money, there's always a political agenda with collateral damages, if you know what I'm saying. So today we're going to talk about this discussion, the vaccinated and the unvaccinated. In this discussion, we're going to look at some mainstream media news, go through our thoughts of what may be going on. When I read these things, when I show you these things, you can go through your thoughts of what may be going on as a layman, not as a doctor, because none of this is medical advice. This is just an examination of what is going on pertaining to this virus and the so-called experts, right? So stay tuned.
Record, smart.
Yeah. Louis shades on, hat to the back. Switch on the glizzy, pocket full of racks. Miss my nigga soda, we can't get him back. So any nigga that you catch, I got 30 racks. Fuck it, make it 50. We gon' turn up the whole city.
All right, everybody, we back. So I want to bring up a subject real fast. Now, do you remember when they said when it first came out that it didn't infect children and all of this stuff? And then the next thing you know, they have a variant, right, that infects children. So, in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, it didn't infect children at first, because I'm thinking experimental stuff. So now we're going to create a variant that infects children, right? Because now we know that it doesn't affect children. Now, my problem is, and some people say conspiracy, but it's not conspiracy. It either is or it isn't. True or false? How's there in between? The vaccine, we pay for these vaccines, right? And if we pay for these vaccines, meaning the U.S. has to pay these companies for these vaccines, then the people in the U.S. have to use these vaccines. They can't just be sitting there in a lab spoiling or getting damaged. Am I correct? So it has to be a reason for them to use, more so of a reason for them to use vaccines. For them not to know that a vaccine, how a vaccine that's been around as long as SARS, you know what I'm saying, COVID-19, and then say they don't know if it affects kids. What do you think? These are my thoughts. So leave your comments below and we could talk about these things. Like I said, this isn't any type of financial advice. This is just a discussion. Also, let me do a little advertisement. If you want to get paid to watch videos instead of being on YouTube, you can get paid in cryptocurrency and go to Theta. Theta, you can watch things that are not centralized, and they don't block people just because of their opinions. Not yet, anyway. And you can watch videos on there and get paid to watch them in cryptocurrency. It's called T-Fuel. So if you don't know, look it up. T-Fuel. Look up the price and see how much you can get paid to just watch videos. Okay, continue. Right now I'm on CNBC, and it's talking about, it's written by Holly Elliott. Fully vaccinated people are still getting infected with COVID. Experts explain why. So they're going to explain why to us, people who already got stuck, people who didn't think of the fact that this was an experimental vaccine, took the chance of going to get stuck in the arm by strangers, right? So let's look at this. It's in Bogota, Colombia. Okay, this is London. Okay. People who are fully vaccinated against COVID-19 are highly protected against severe infections, hospitalization, and death caused by the virus. But coronavirus cases among the fully vaccinated, so-called breakthrough COVID cases, are still being seen among those who have had 2 doses. So in other words, they say they're seeing in London people who have had 2 doses of the vaccine still coming out with getting the sickness or catching it. And they're calling this breakthrough. So it's not a breakout, it's a breakthrough, right? I remember when they started the new conspiracy of separating people, trying to break up their homes further, right? By saying, break up homes and friendships, which they have done, by saying, if you vaccinated and you're not vaccinated, you need to stay away from vaccinated people because unvaccinated people seem like they are getting scars and sores on them by being around people who are vaccinated. So if they're saying that, they said that probably about 2 or 3 months ago. If they said that then, and they were telling you then that people who were unvaccinated, right, were catching the COVID-19 or whatever breakouts, where they were breaking out, people who were unvaccinated. I'm going to throw some other stuff in there later, but it's going to be in the conclusion. Let's continue. If you haven't read, while it's rare for vaccinated people in the U.S. or Europe to get sick from COVID, breakthrough cases are happening for a number of reasons, experts note. Okay, how is it rare if the COVID-19 just broke out a year ago? Like, is that really enough time to say something is rare? For a start, none of the vaccines being deployed in the U.S. or Europe are 100% effective at preventing infection. Get stuck, no luck, right? But the U.S. president, the new president that a lot of people, one particular race in particular, voted in, right? The person they put in office said that you're going to be protected. So in other words, he lied, right? So President Biden lied to the U.S. people, right? So in addition, new COVID strains such as the highly infectious Delta variant, which is now prevalent around the world, have complicated the efficiency, what's that? Efficacy picture. Damn, I can't read. Anyway. Figure out later. There is also incomplete data into how long immunity from COVID lasts following vaccination. So, in other words, let me tell you all, being a data analyst, when you can't find this type of data, because I have been looking for it, race specific, even when you find certain things, even race specific, it's cloudy, right? It's very cloudy information. When you look at it, it's like, get to a point where like, okay, I don't understand these numbers. I mean, I can understand the numbers, but I don't understand what the hell they're saying, right? So, in my opinion, and what they're saying is, there is also incomplete data, right? So they don't know how long the vaccination lasts. So I have one question. Is this an experiment? Let that soak in. Or are you guinea pigs? So let's listen to what they have to say in this video. I started it off, then I stopped it. So let's look. This is mainstream media, so we'll check it out.
Uncontrolled spread by COVID-19 crosses us and how we can defeat the next pandemic is out in September. Doctor, it's great to see you as always. But the numbers over the weekend continue to concern lots of parents and lots of individuals around the country. And I'm thinking specifically about states in which there are now laws effectively that prevent mask mandates, and what you think should be done in those states.
Well, look, I think we should be leaving discretion to local officials to implement measures based on local spread. Different parts of the country, certainly different states and regions, but even different localities within a state are experiencing this pandemic in very different ways. And I think to tie the hands of local officials in terms of implementing measures to respond to local outbreaks is the wrong step right now, especially as we contemplate reopening schools. I mean, the goal has to be to get schools open and keep them open, and we can't expect to change all the behaviors in terms of what we're doing with respect to mitigation in the schools and get the same result, especially with this new Delta variant, which is more contagious and is inevitably going to be harder to control in the schools. We are taking sort of an alpha mindset into a Delta world, and it's not going to work. We're going to see that this Delta variant is more difficult to control. We may need to start the year with the schools with some form of mitigation in place. And a lot of districts right now are withdrawing those measures, withdrawing masks, testing, distancing, potting, all the things that we did to try to control spread in schools. We can't expect to get the same result in terms of being able to control the infection.
Right. Scott, you've long explained to our viewers that in most cases, depending on what kind of mask you're wearing, that my mask protects you and your mask protects me. Perhaps maybe unless I'm wearing an N95. If you get into a situation where you have half a classroom, for example, not wearing masks and half a classroom wearing masks, how protected are the kids wearing masks?
Depends on the quality of the mask they're wearing, and it's harder for a child to wear a higher quality mask. There are certain masks that are more comfortable and still afford a higher degree of protection than a procedure mask. You can be talking about a KN95 mask, which slips behind the ears and can be comfortable if it's fitted properly, or KN.
Okay, did you all hear that? Now, let me make this point. I had a meeting in the library, right? Palm Springs, California. Everybody in there was wearing a fucking mask, right? Now, when we were wearing the mask, let me tell you, I didn't keep that motherfucker on the whole time. I had to pull it down. How much do y'all bet a fucking child? Right? Hell, I damn near smothered to death being in that place with a fucking mask on. How many of y'all think a child's just gonna keep a mask on their face? Right? N95, Q95, 95, whatever, 95 South mask, whatever the fuck they come up with, right? So, breathing their own carbon dioxide in, getting them sleepy, right? attention span already fucked up. Right. So you don't have to be a brain surgeon to know these types of things. All right. The foolishness with this stuff. Let's listen some more.
F94 mask, which is going to afford the use of more protection. But you're right. The idea behind wearing a mask is that it cuts down on the likelihood that someone's going to transmit respiratory droplets. And so if everyone has a mask on, and some people are infected but don't know it because they have an asymptomatic or mild infection, if they have a mask on, they're less likely to transmit the infection. A cloth mask or a procedure mask is going to afford the wearer some protection from the virus, but not a lot. About 20% for a high-quality cloth mask, maybe as high as 40% for a high-quality level 3 procedure mask. But most people don't wear those masks well, don't fit them well, so they're not getting that measure of protection. Obviously, with a KN95 mask, you're getting 95% protection from transmission. And now that we know more of the virus is being spread through aerosols and not droplets, wearing a higher quality mask becomes more important.
Scott, we were talking to Steve Weisman, who's expecting to head out to Jackson Hole for a big conference in a couple of weeks from now. And there's a number of big events, conferences and the like, that are coming up this fall, some of which are now thinking about whether they need to change course and go virtual, if you will. The auto show in New York obviously canceling its show already. What's your perspective on that?
Well, look, we had talked about this many times that we were going to have a final wave of infection that swept across the country. We thought it'd be with B117. We thought it'd be in this fall when people got back to work, back to school. And we thought it'd be against the backdrop of a population that was more vaccinated. It's coming earlier with a more contagious variant against the backdrop of a population that doesn't have as much vaccine. I think this is going to be a difficult period right now. We're going to see a wave of infection sweep across the entire country. The South is showing an indication that they're starting to peak. I think that may be more self-evident this week. But now you're seeing a pickup in cases in states like Illinois, Indiana, North Carolina. This is going to spread north, and it's going to collide with back to school. I think people who have events planned for the fall need to think carefully about how they can implement additional steps to try to protect those venues. You can require vaccination. You can do some testing. There are ways you can protect the congregate setting, even in a setting of spread, but you're going to have to probably take some additional measures than you might have had to take if we didn't have this wave of infection.
But just to put a fine point on it, is that a situation where you're going to have to, whether you're vaccinated or not, everybody ends up masking up? Or do you believe that you could have 500, 1,000, thousands of people together collectively if they all had a vaccine passport, if you will? Is that enough, given what we now know?
Yeah, look, I think that there are ways to create a setting where you can protect the venue, to bring people together and protect the venue. You look at what the cruise ships are doing. Norwegian, which I've been working with, they're requiring everyone to be vaccinated. They're testing everyone before they come into that setting, so everyone gets tested. People do get some follow-up testing as well. So you can create some semblance of a bubble around a venue. It depends on what you're prepared to do. If you're unable to do that or aren't prepared to do that, then you need to implement additional measures. I think it's possible to bring people together in a vaccinated setting. What we've seen with respect to vaccinated people is they're not becoming super spreaders. Most of the spread that we see from vaccinated individuals is to close contacts. That comes from the real-world evidence out of Israel. And most of the people who are vaccinated who are becoming infected, we think are becoming infected from unvaccinated people. So you're unlikely, if you have a fully vaccinated venue, to have a situation where a single individual can introduce the infection and spread it to a lot of people.
Now, did you hear what he said? He was saying that vaccinated people are becoming infected by unvaccinated people. Now, remember when they said that vaccinated people were spreading COVID to unvaccinated people, right? So, which one is it? Then, stop the malarkey. This shit is completely asinine. So when you hear all these doctors, they don't even talk uniform like these are doctors. They're not even genetic engineers really talking really. And honestly, my personal point of view, these are my opinions, not science. That's my disclaimer. These are my opinions. All these doctors need to have debates. One thing I've noticed is you have the number of doctors that come out and they talk, right? The mainstream doctors like him. Fauci. But they won't debate another doctor about the subject. So I guess they're considered part of the medical elite since they get up in these little organizations or whatever. So in other words, you have a hierarchy among the hierarchy, right? So let's continue because I'm about to look at one more article and shut this video down.
That vaccinated individuals are transiently contagious, so they become infected. They're contagious for a brief window because they fight the infection more quickly. And when they do spread the infection, it's typically to close contacts, people within the household.
Okay, so let's continue the reading. The alarm was raised over breakthrough COVID cases when preliminary data in Israel, which had one of the fastest vaccination programs in the world, published in July, found that the Pfizer BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine was just 40.5% effective on average at preventing symptomatic disease. So they didn't have this data till they start punching a hole in people, right? The analysis, which was carried out as the Delta variant became the country's dominant strain, still found that having 2 doses of the shot provided strong protection against severe illness and hospitalization. However, the country's health minister reported. Okay. So I'm going to shut this down real fast, right? And this is going to be a 2-part thing because I'm already at 20 minutes. And I think that people's attention span, well, I know people's attention span is going to be like, okay, he's slow. We fucking can't keep hearing this right now. So I'm going to stop this video, upload this video, and start with another one. So we out. Starting back at this paragraph right here. Peace.